And we are recording. Welcome, everyone. This is your host, Abraham El Jaguar. Today, we have a very special guest. But first of all, this channel is proudly partnered with the What the Funk shop. Please check out their store for all sorts of products. They have dice, miniatures, Game Master screens, home decorations, and many other things. You will find a link in the description and in the pinned comment. And make sure that you use my code for a special discount. So, yes, today we have the vampire VTuber Antonia Valentine. This is effectively interview with the vampire. Antonia, thank you so much for being here.
Hello, hi everybody. My name is Antonia. Nice to meet you. As Abraham said, I am a VTuber. If you don't know what that is, it's actually a virtual YouTuber. So usually we have an avatar representing us. Right now we just have a little icon, but hi, hello. On my channel, I mainly stream a lot of ASMR, hand cam, and video games such as Genshin Impact, Nonary games, Kirby, Mario Kart, though I'm not very good at Mario Kart. Just whatever I'm feeling like playing that day. But that's me. I have another partner with me. She's not here with me right now, but her name is Lena, a little purple cotton candy cat, and she's a magical cat. So that's all I got from me. Also, I saw your Raiden Shogun picture in the back. Do you have a wall scroll in the back behind you, Abraham? The Raiden
Exactly.
Shogun?
Yeah.
Oh my, I thought it was so cool. I was like, oh look, Raiden.
That's like my wife, who I actually don't play Genshin, but I saw the character and I was like, wow, she looks so pretty and powerful.
She's very powerful. A lot of people use her, I believe, as an electro DPS right now. I just have her supporting Razor. Don't get mad at me. I know.
So Antonia, let us delve deeper into your VTuber inspirations. What made you become a VTuber? What was that moment when you said, I need to become a VTuber?
So back then, when as you're young, you try and figure out what you want your dream job to be. I jumped around a lot from like veterinarian to paleontologist to teacher to librarian, all sorts of things. At one point, I had wanted to become a voice actor. Another point I was really into when I was younger, I was really into Let's Plays. Have you seen those old Let's Play videos where people would play like a horror RPG? Yeah. So I was really into those. I had wanted to do Let's Plays. My dad was so kind enough. He got me like a laptop, old laptop. It's like the laptop you'll see in a lot of crime shows from like the early 2000s. So he got me a laptop, low controller, so I can do like let's plays of Pokemon or something. But as a kid, I keep hitting my keyboard. Sorry. As a kid, I didn't really know how to do that or go about that, and I was like, okay, well, all well. So I let go of that dream. I let go of the voice actor dream because a lot of it required moving out of state or moving out of my city, and I didn't want to move. And so, and I also financially can't move out of my state. So at the time, I gave those up. And then later on, I ended up I got into anime. And so I've been into anime for, I believe, like the past 10 years or so. So I'm a really huge fan. And what happened was near the end of 2021, there was this big boom in VTubers. If I'm not going to state exactly what that big boom was, if you know, you know, just because there's a lot of controversy and a lot of things in the VTuber community, so I won't state it, but there's a big boom during that time. And I saw a lot of fan art and I was like, who the heck is this? Who am I looking at? So I went on X and I kind of dug around. I said, oh, what is this? So the VTubers, and it reminded me of Kizuna Ai. I guess she was like the I don't know if she was like the very first, but she was the one that coined the term VTuber.
Many consider her to be like the start, like the boom.
Yes, yeah, I remember first seeing her do an interview. No, yeah, she did like collabs with the Anime Man. I don't know if you're familiar with him. Yeah, so he's very popular in the anime community, and so that sort of came to mind. But I was really drawn to the idea that you didn't have to show your face and you can do a lot of stuff as a VTuber digital media wise. So not only can you be a cute anime girl, I would essentially be voice acting for this cute anime girl. I would be playing video games and whatnot. I'd be doing like excuse me, let's plays, like, let's play streams. And I graduated the bachelor's dealing with digital media. So I was really into like graphic design, video editing, audio editing, all sorts of things. And so I thought I could use my skills towards that. And I've been told on and off over the years I have a pretty good voice. That people say, oh yeah, you'd be great at video games and all that. And so I really doubled down. I say, you know what? Let's give it a try. I want to give this try. Let's see how it goes. It seems really fun. And then also I feel like as a having a virtual avatar gives you more freedom with art. So I'm also an artist, and so I just think that's more fun to give people that kind of freedom of being able to make artwork and stuff and make your own character, make scripts and all that fun stuff. And so when I actually like doubled down, I bought the mic, I got the stream deck. I try to get everything on my computer. I got Streamlabs. I got, you know, everything I needed to make this work. I started out as PNG. I ended up finding somebody that did a really cheap art and rig. So I went over to 2D, but I still have my chibi. And so since then, I kind of been working on it since I think my debut, I want to say, was probably February of 2022 or March. I can't remember. So I kind of doubled down very quickly from that initial December 2021 to starting in February of 2022. And so I was just really passionate that, oh, look, all the things I gave up before, I get to do it now as a VTuber in this sort of specific medium. And I know a lot of people wonder, well, why'd you pick YouTube of all places to start? I know a lot of people start in Twitch. You want to know the main reason I pick YouTube? It's gonna sound funny. The main reason I picked YouTube was because I want to make my own thumbnails. As a
Ah,
graphic designer, I want to make my own thumbnails. That was the only reason I picked YouTube. And since then, I've kind of stuck with it. I know lots of things are going on right now with YouTube and Twitch, and like people getting banned and people getting marked and copyright, all that stuff. So I know that's still going on. As of right now, I'm okay. That might change in the future. I don't know. But as of right now, I'm good on YouTube. So yeah, that's how I decided to become a VTuber, and I've really stuck with it. I've been having a lot of fun. I have a really awesome community right now. And, I have other things I want to try pursuing as a VTuber, so we'll see.
I think it's pretty amazing how all of your skill set, everything that you have learned, it kind of like came together with your choice of being a VTuber. You could say it is fate or it is intelligent choices or seizing the opportunity that you wanted to be a VTuber and you were skilled in this and that and this other thing and you were knowledgeable about that and you wrapped it up together into your VTuber persona or rather your VTuber career.
Yes, yeah, that was the main thing. I had remember and this is the answer I've stuck with since I started, because that's the core of it, was everything I had learned and done and everything. I said, no, you know what, maybe I can't pursue that as a career. I can't pursue it as anything I'd want to do. And it came back to me in that time. And I had remembered during well, because nobody had asked me that. They said, why'd you become a VTuber? Nobody asked me that. Um and so it was during a Pokemon stream, Pokemon Arceus. A very famous agency VTuber had visited my stream, and she had asked me, why did you become a VTuber? And the answer I gave you was the same answer I gave her. It was like, everything I know and I learned and everything I gave up with the Let's Plays, the voice acting, the anime I love, all my digital media skills, it compiled into one thing, and I saw it as a VTuber. And so I just went towards I went straight for it. I was like, perfect.
And I think that people sometimes underestimate the, how would you say, the aesthetic value of being a VTuber, because when it comes to anime or manga style of art drawings, the images are so aesthetically pleasing. Because for example, in real life, like for example my face, you have like the marks from wrinkles or whatever, but when it comes to those anime faces, they are so clean, so simple, so people tend to project their own preferences. They see the face of Antonia Valentine, and if you large noses, perhaps they almost picture like a large nose. If they picture like a smallish nose, they picture that. So I think being a VTuber gives you that great advantage of projecting an aesthetically pleasing image and at the same time using your own talents.
I think a lot of it, like mentally wise, I think for people, they can pretty much get behind supporting a favorite character you have. I mean, for me personally, I know for some other people, they might feel uncomfortable, like supporting or being so close or imagining a real life person in a particular situation or a particular artwork. Because I know there's artwork of IRL people, but I feel like as a VTuber, you can pretty much be any sort of like fantastical or like fictional character you would like. And I think there's that sort of comfortable separation between yourself and the character. And I've stated this before, when I first debuted, is I not really particular on the kind of fan art you draw. Yes, there are some certain boundaries, but like I do have a not safe for work tag available on X. So if people do not safe for work artwork, that's totally fine. As an artist, I've seen all sorts of fan art, all sorts of fan works for like a lot of my favorite games, my favorite books, and all that. So I'm totally fine with it just because Antonia is Antonia and I am myself, you know? So I see that sort of separation. Like, yes, she's technically me, but it's more like an online me that you can play dress up with and do outfits and do all sorts of fun scenarios. And it that's not like that for all VTubers. I know a lot of VTubers, they have specific boundaries and guidelines that they're comfortable with, that their audience respects, and any newer audience members should respect. It's just me personally. I don't mind. It's the avatar for me. Go ham, okay? That's my point of view, but everyone has their own specific thoughts. And also, I forgot to mention this in the beginning. Anything I say about VTubers, take that with a grain of salt. Each person's experience is different. I have my own personal life experiences that I use as a framework to view other things in my life, you know, and everyone has their own specific experiences that they use their own framework. No one's going to have the same glasses. Okay, I'm just going to state that now.
And it would be very boring if we all had the same opinions. We all have our
Mhm.
particular takes on things. Mm, but that's very interesting. This also connects a bit what you mentioned of the VTuber persona. It connects a bit with the main theme of my channel. I mostly focus on tabletop role-playing games. I also feature video games and such. But you always that have that separation between you as a person and the character. So that makes me think, when it comes to your particular case of being a VTuber, do you consider yourself to be more of an actor or more of like a puppet master, like you're controlling the puppet, the VTuber?
um I don't know. I wouldn't say actor or a puppet master just cuz I feel like from what I've seen for interviews and stuff, a lot of puppet masters, what they do is they'll come up with a character persona for the puppet they're playing and they kind of guide it along the way. And then with an actor, you're kind of given a character that you need to act as. And I know sometimes actors are kind of stuck in a particular role they play. This is really common in the movie industry too. Like once you're stuck in a role, it's really hard to break out of it. That's why I think it's exciting when actors kind of push out of their boundaries. I think one of the actors I'm kind of like really seeing in a new light. Oh my god, I forgot his name, but it's Edward Cullen, the guy that played Edward Cullen. I'm really bad
Ah,
at actor names. But I saw a trailer. He's participating in a new movie, or I guess he's a gentleman that cannot, you know, he can't. If you're gonna put this on YouTube, I guess I can't say the word. He can't unalive at all.
okay.
So he goes through like a lot of different trials and stuff and experiments. And I just think that's so interesting. But as a VTuber, I feel that lots of people, I think it's 50-50 for a lot of people. I think they're kind of acting in the persona and the world that they created. And then the other half, or maybe most of the time, I don't know what percentage people will do it in, but in other times, they are acting as themselves. They're not really trying to put on a persona or an act in a case. I know when a lot of agency or indie VTubers give you advice for something, I know when audition season rolls around for a lot of places, they tell you to be yourself, which is very true because as a content creator, streamer, you don't have to be a VTuber, just someone in general who shows a lot of themselves online, it's really hard to keep acting for a long period of time, especially if you're streaming. I've seen a lot of VTubers that run maybe like 6 to 8 hour streams. They do subathon streams. They're streaming for days. And I think what it comes down to is if you want to have a persona, you can. That's entirely up to you. Or if you want to just be yourself, you can be yourself. I don't think a VTuber is really like anything specific in acting or being yourself wise. I think just in general, as a content creator for anything online, it's entirely up to the person if they want to act out a particular persona or if they just want to be themselves. Again, it's entirely up to them. Same thing with the VTubers. They're just content creators and it's up to them if they want to, you know, be a particular way or just be themselves.
So it sounds like something completely different from being an actor or controlling a puppet. It sounds like its own thing. And now that you mentioned of being yourself, I think that's why some VTuber companies sometimes get into trouble with their audiences because sometimes they tell their own VTubers, yes, be yourself. And then they post something or they say something and the company suddenly distances themselves from them or even penalizes them in some way. And then the fans get angry. They say, hey, why are you punishing your VTuber just because she said this and that? That's what she actually thinks or what she wanted to say.
I think a lot of it too. So first and foremost, you got to see where the company is based. And then at that point, you kind of got to understand how the company likes to run things. I know a lot of the big companies right now um, take place like overseas. I know they have some companies here. Each person is going to run their company differently depending on, I guess, their environment as well as personal experience. So I remember a few of those instances though that, you know, the person will say something and the company tells them not to. And again, it really just depends on like a difference in culture as well as a difference in company standard. They tell you that for interviews too, don't say this, don't say that, don't mention this, don't mention that. And it can vary between like city to city and state to state. I know lots of people will say, oh, well, you can't be saying this or act like this in this city. Like they'll take it personally, or they're very mellow, or they're very strict. So I think it just depends who is in charge and what their frame of mind is. So if you say something that, you know, doesn't agree with the company, doesn't agree with like the standard, obviously the company's going to speak out because it happens all the time online. If something bad happens, they're going to find where the person works and they're going to attack the workplace. And at that point, it's up to the workplace to say, oh, this and that, this and that. You know, that it's they're trying to control how people perceive them, which is normal. Everybody does that. They try and make sure they don't say something, they don't do something. And sometimes you can't please everybody. That's understandable. And then sometimes you can, you know, it just depends. For a lot of company and for businesses, I learned very early on. My first job was at like a local place, and then later on I ended up working for a business, and they're going to view things differently. They're not going to care if you interacted with a customer really nicely. They're not going to care if you did this or that, or if you like really good with your employees. They're not going to care if you don't match the numbers. Then that's it. They some places do focus solely on numbers. Some places focus on other things. So what it narrows down to is what is the company's framework, what is their focus, and how are they going to continue forward.
It sounds very challenging to work for a VTuber company. It is certainly quite profitable in many instances, but there are certainly limitations. For example, in your case, would you eventually work for a VTuber company because you would be giving away some of your control over what you want to do, your projects, but at the same time, you would be obtaining, well, perhaps yes, more profit or potentially more fame, depending on how they handle the promotion.
So for me personally, I think it's everybody's dream to make it to like that top 1% where a lot of indie VTubers are and a lot of more of the famous company VTuber agency VTubers are. I think it depends what you wanna get out of it. I know, I don't know if you saw, but Amelie recently joined VShojo, and she said one of the
Oh,
main reasons was that she was doing a lot on her own, or she was dealing with a lot more stuff that she didn't wanna be dealing with, like a lot of the shipping and merch stuff. If you look at a lot of content creators on how to, improve your content, how to really skyrocket on YouTube, one of the first things they tell you is figure out what you want to outsource once you get enough money coming in. You figure out what you want to outsource. And what a lot of content creators do is they outsource the editing first. As a video editor, I understand. It's a little draining sometimes when you're editing something. It's fun to edit, don't get me wrong. It's really fun. It's just sometimes if you're not editing for yourself, or if you are, you might be more picky, you might leave something open, it just depends. So I think for a lot of people when they join an agency, they join for different reasons. I remember for Hololive Ian, I think it was Beeble. So she said she in her interview they had asked her like, why did you want to join VShojo? Not VShojo, I'm sorry, Hololive. And she said, I just wanted to have fun and play video games with friends. Like she saw some of the Hololive girls and she said, I would love to have fun, play video games with them, and so each person kind of joins for their own reasons. Maybe they join to further their music career. Maybe they join because, the fame. Maybe they join because they just want really cool friends. Maybe they join because the workload was just easier if somebody else handles it. I know Matara from Vishojo, she also mentioned how her manager is really helpful. And if she wants to get something done, they'll go ahead and do that for them. I think it's helpful when any sort of talent or content creator or just artist has an agent or a manager there present, just so you can bounce ideas with somebody, or that they know how to get something done that you maybe don't know, and they can probably get it done faster, you know. So I think along the way, if I ever make it to that 1%, for sure I'm outsourcing editing. And as well as probably hiring like a manager and agent, just to keep track of things, just because there's only so much you can do as one person. You can't spread yourself so thin that you're not going to be able to make content, that you essentially have to sacrifice a few things along the way if you try and do everything yourself. So I think being in an agency or being indie has its own ups and downs. And again, it depends per person. You can have a really good agent. You can maybe go to like someplace local that helps you out. Maybe you're good friends with somebody and they have more advice. Again, each person is different in their wants and needs. And I think it just comes out to the end of the day of whether you want to be indie, join an agency, take this opportunity, reject this opportunity. So it just depends on the person, what they want.
now you have already mentioned that you like anime, but do you also like manga, light novels, and as well? When did you start to play video games?
So I had explained during my stream the other day, I like to use very broad terms for video games among like other terms. So for me, video games is just a computer. You're manipulating an image on a screen with the computer program. So I guess in general, video games for me was when I was a kid. I always loved playing those little CD games for like my favorite cartoons. And I would play those all the time. Or I had the Wii, I had my DS, I had a Game Boy with Pokemon. So I had been playing video games for me person for a very long time. I love stories. I was a very creative person since way back when. I used to, when I was a kid, I used to make Littlest Pet Shop videos. I don't know if you know what Littlest Pet Shop. Yeah, those little
Mhm.
toys. And so I would love making a story and having different characters play it out. And I felt that in anime and manga, when I discovered that, it kind of erupted to like, oh, what about this story and this character? Me personally, I have a bunch of OCs for stuff, or original characters. So I come up with them very easily. And I think they're so fun. And so I think a lot of it narrows down to if I really like the story, or the concept, I'm gonna move forward with it. As for manga and light novels, yeah, I think if you're into anime, you kind of fall into that. Oh, I like the manga light novels. It's only been the last couple years I recently got into danme. I got into manhwa, which is I've noticed is getting really popular right now. And so I'm actually a big book collector. I probably own over 5,000 books, if not more. So I collect books mainly from thrift stores. My first job was at a bookstore. So I a used bookstore, so they're very cheap. So I have a bunch of books. I have a membership at Barnes and Noble. So I mean, I'm an avid collector of books. I love to watch anime. I'm a seasonal anime watcher, so I'm pretty up to date on a lot of seasonal stuff. And yeah, I just where whatever's creative, I might jump into it. Artists are very strange that way. We kind of hyper focus on something and we just jump full long into it.
And do you play other types of games such as board games or tabletop RPGs?
Um, I don't want to say this because it makes me sound like a loner, but I really don't hang out a lot with my friends in general or just other people who play video like board games and all that. Even when I play video games, I think legit the first time I played with somebody like online was with Gyoko, a VTuber I usually collab with, Gyoko Gaming, and we were doing Pokemon. And so I normally don't play board games and all that. My family's not too big into that. And I guess for like the tabletop RPG, no, I haven't played those, but I do play D&D. So I also have another collab. It's not on my channel, but it's on Nori Oroboshi. She's another VTuber who does like music production and plays video games as well. So she'll have it on her channel. And my moderator, Bubba the Great, he's the dungeon master, right? Is that the word DM? So we are doing. I have participated in D&D on occasion, and it's really fun. And I laugh at my horrible luck because I have like -2 intelligence and minus something. I was like, yeah, that checks. I'm not that dumb. I promise. I know I say that a lot, but I'm not that dumb. Um, what was it? But yeah, I guess I do that on occasion, but for the most part, I mainly stick to my video games. I have the occasional card game. I have some card games, but nothing else really. It's mainly either Genshin, Honkai, or my mobile games.
In case you haven't seen it, right now is like the boom of solo board games and tabletop RPGs. So if you're ever curious about that, there are so many out there to be played on your own. And
Oh,
when it
okay.
comes to tabletop role playing games, yeah, you definitely Dungeons and Dragons is a tabletop RPG, a
Okay.
tabletop role playing game. However, it has been somewhat distorted from the original. I don't know if you were aware, but the one who created the entire Dungeons and Dragons thing was Dave Arneson. Gary
No, I do
Gygax,
not.
who is like the most famous guy in Dungeons and Dragons, he's
Okay.
actually the one who took Dave Arneson's chaotic, terribly unorganized notes and he gave them structure. But he
Oh,
never
okay.
so like he's the rules guy, the gamer guy,
Hmm.
but he never understood how to role play in tabletop role playing games. So the average tabletop RPG session is, I want my character to, can my character use a spell to fly over? No, no, you can't. Oh well, can my character? And they have like this conversation, but the original role play concept. I cast levitation over my body
Uh
to
huh.
fly across the chasm. And the game master, as you attempt that, the spell fizzles. You perceive an anti magic field around the entire zone. And that's the
Oh.
magic. And that's
Hmm.
missing sometimes in tabletop RPG sessions. So sometimes that is lacking for that extra spark.
I think my moderator, the DM, we have Bubba. I think he does a good job at having us in the world that we're in for our sessions. He does a lot of wonderful voices that I think are really cool. And yeah, we ask the occasional. Well, he'll ask, he's like, "What do you want to do?" I said, "What if we did this? Can we do that?" And he'll tell us. He's like, "Okay, roll this." And then so once he figures out what the roll is, he'll narrate it like, "This is what happens." And it's so funny sometimes. There was
Uh,
one session I was with somebody and I tried to shoot the monster, I think. And unfortunately, I missed and it recoiled, and we both fell down the stairs and we took damage taking the stairs. So it's little fun parts like that. I think he does a good job. I do understand how some people play their games differently, but at the end of the day, as long as they're having fun, go for it.
yes, yes. The only distortion happens when someone tells you we're going to role play, and you get to the session and you never play a role. You're like having a conversation about the characters, and you're like, "But you said we were going to play a role. I'm just having a conversation, or I'm telling stories about." But because definitely you should play. You should play however you like. But if you want to role play, definitely actually have role play during
Hmm.
the session. Now, when it comes to your voice, because you do have a really nice sounding voice, did you take some sort of formal training for singing? But because you mentioned voice acting, but tell us about your training.
Actually, there was no training whatsoever. I know you had mentioned the singing question, and um I don't know if I sing that good or not. Sometimes I think I hit it, and then sometimes I don't think I hit it at all.
Hmm.
But no, I've had no training. Um, I don't know where to start. Okay, so the real reason I probably didn't take any sort of vocal elective courses or classes is because a lot of the music they would sing in choirs and stuff, they were, it wasn't, I don't want to say pop songs or anything, but it was very a lot of, what's a better word? A lot of formal pieces you would pick for a choir class, you know. And so I didn't think I would have fun doing that. I know I'm fairly good at matching tone sometimes. I've been told that because I was in a band course. I was actually in like the band team, at some point for the concert band. I played the clarinet. And so during some of the practices, we would be like, oh, and we would match a tone. And every time I would be next to someone, they would look over, they're like, you did that really good. Like, oh, you matched that really good. I was like, oh, thank you. Um, and so I had no formal training or anything. I would hope one day I can do formal training and like learning how to control my voice and how to do proper singing. I don't have the finances for that at the moment. I can't even afford good internet right now. So until still I have a little bit more financial freedom, I'll consider it. But right now I just kind of free not is it free fall? I just wing it. Yeah, I improv.
There are some good videos on YouTube on how to improve your singing and whatnot.
Mhm.
See, so I would recommend watching those. I actually, yes, I've known a couple of VTubers that started to sing like with their own talent, and then they started to like polish those skills, and they are pretty impressive currently. But when it comes to your voice, I also think it sounds really good. I've listened to some of your ASMR when you like play like you're like this siren.
Oh yes.
The notes sound really good. The transitions. I've only spotted like a couple of times where the transition wasn't as smooth, but most of the time, like flowing smooth, really smooth.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. A lot of that's improv, so that's probably why it wasn't smooth. I'm really bad at music composition, so if you ask me like what this and that meant, I cannot tell you.
No. Now, which would you consider to be the best things and the most challenging things about being a VTuber?
Um, I think a lot of the most challenging things is probably a lot of the technical issues. So if you show yourself, you just have like your webcam and your mic. I think with VTubers, you're importing a live 2D model, whether or a live 3D model and all. I know some VTubers, oh my god, I forgot what her name was. I think she was a snake VTuber. I don't know what the half snake, half person is. I forgot. And Naga? I'm not too
Like a
sure.
Lamia
Yeah,
or
Lamia.
Naga.
Yeah, yeah, Lamia. So there's an indie VTuber, and her tail just kept crashing on her computer, and I think the file size for the tail was just so big that she couldn't really use it. I don't know if she's fixed it since then. I did see that. I don't know where I saw it from, but that was the main issue she was having. I know other people sometimes the model doesn't want to work. Lots of people I know they use an iPhone, either their own phone or another iPhone, to use as like the live 2D tracking. I tried to use a webcam at some point, but it didn't work out. And I had my iPad. I had several iPads, so I used one of them for live 2D tracking for a while. And then I switched over to an iPhone. It was my brother's old iPhone, gave it to me for Christmas. And there's technical stuff with that where it wasn't hooking up to the iPhone, the computer wasn't reading it, you had to pick with some settings. So in general, everyone deals with technical issues, but I feel that VTubers deal with more technical issues when you're trying to set up a live 2D to work in another program or to display it somewhere. I know a lot of people, their computers can't handle it. So that's why when you see collabs, they'll do a Discord PNG React sort of thing. And it's just easier for the computer and it's just easier for other people involved if they can just do that. I think a lot of the probably more bigger agency or bigger indie VTubers or people with better computers and Wi-Fi can handle multiple models on the screen. But most of the time, people just do like the PNG for collab stuff. As for what are the best things, as I said, I think the best thing of being a VTuber is you can pretty much be whatever you want. So in my case, I just picked a vampire. I could have picked anything else. I really could have, but I don't know. I was with my mom and my brother. My brother was trying on stuff. I was in a Nike store and I was like, you know what? I think a vampire would be cool. And I'm taking notes in the corner with my phone. I have like a little I have like the little pen that you have with your phone. And I was taking little notes. And initially I was actually gonna be the original design that Lena currently is. I wanted very pastels, probably a cat, but then I figured, why am I going to narrow it down to one person? Can't I just make two? So I ended up making two characters and doing a secondary voice for Lena. And I mean, Lena's definitely here. She's real. And so I think that's the fun part is you could do whatever you can make whatever character you want. I know lots of people they'll do different outfits. I know Doki had like her original like blue and white outfit, and then now she's doing the bounty hunter outfit. I know a lot of Indian agency VTubers release like pajama outfits or springtime outfit or like different versions of themselves. And so or like an idol outfit. So I think that's really fun that you can be whatever you want. Bad part is though, everything costs a lot of money. Oh my god, what's that? There's a VTuber I saw. She's a 3D modeler, and I believe she's a mushroom. I forgot her name, but she does like a lot of discussion videos, and she goes over VTuber models and the artistic choices people make. I think she has a degree in art. I forgot which one. But she was kind of saying, it costs a lot of money to get something upgraded. And I think someone else brought it up too. Oh my gosh. I'm sorry I'm blanking on names. I'm really bad at names as IRL people and VTubers and just people in general. I'm really bad with names. She had brought up, it's pretty expensive for VTubers because I mean, oh wait, no, I actually remember now. I'm sorry for rambling. Giga, I remember she was interviewing the CEO for Twitch, and she had brought up, hey, do you guys have a standard for the outfits? Because some people spend thousands and thousands of dollars on an outfit only for them to find out they cannot use it on Twitch. Then it feels like money down the drain, you know. So she had brought up that, this costs a lot of money. We can't just change clothes and throw on a sweater like an IRL person. We're pretty much stuck with the outfit until we get a new outfit, and prices are going up, as they should. Some artists worked really hard to improve their skill, and they worked really hard to make their work even better. So they have every right to increase their prices, and you as the consumer and the customer, you have every right to either go along with it or save up money, or you know, people need to go about things their own way, in a sense that if you want to get something, prioritize saving up for that. It's other people in general. If you want to buy a new car, you save up for that. If you want to go to that one restaurant, you save up for it. And so I think with VTubing, it just costs a little more to upgrade. That's part of the reason I haven't upgraded in like the past 3 years. I'm still using that live 2D model. I'm still using a lot of the same, my chibi for my thumbnails. It's just because it costs a lot of money. Anytime I jump into a commission, I let them know, hey, it's for the VTuber thing. I need the commercial use fee as well. If that's included, you kind of let me know and give me a quote. And so that's usually how I jump into it. And sometimes people have separate quotes for that. I know Giga had mentioned that a lot of the stuff she gets commissioned, it's a work for hire, which is essentially I'm hiring you to do this piece of work, but I'm essentially going to own it once you're done. So what artists will do is they'll implement like the commercial fees and all that. It's either a one-time pay, royalty pay, all that stuff. Um, but yeah, I think it's fine. You do whatever you want. It's not cheap. I mean, there's other alternatives. There are very much cheap alternatives. It just depends what you want. And then a lot of technical stuff too. But those are the main points.
Now, what do you think about VTuber culture in general in our current times?
So as I was talking the other day with my chat, and someone I think it was Fei Long, he had brought up that a lot of it was getting related to idol culture now. I see VTubing as a sort of a category in the general content creation sphere. So it's hard to explain, just because to me personally, it's a genre within a genre. It can fall into, and it overlaps too. So you have a lot of video games and anime and content creation and streamers and ASMR. And I think VTubing is just a creative way to show a particular image of yourself while still doing other content creation stuff that people normally do. I think another indie VTuber is Onigiri. So she does a lot of cooking. I didn't even know this was a thing you could do, where she kind of did like a green screen thing where she has her model over, but you can still see her arms and hands while she's cooking. I think that's so fun. A lot of VTubers are starting to show their faces now. K9 Kuro, he didn't really show his face, but after when he had joined Bishojo, I don't know at what point he started showing his face, and he actually opened up a second channel, I believe. And so I think just VTubing is just sort of a thing you do, where it's like, oh, this is my virtual avatar. Anybody can be a VTuber. Anybody can be a content creator. I'm not saying it's easy. I'm just saying if you want to do that, you can. And so I think as a VTuber, it's just something you do. You use a virtual avatar. What you do in that virtual avatar can span totally different genres entirely. You can be a mechanic, you could be an artist, you can be a cook, you can be a singer. I know a lot of people on YouTube, they have like oh my god, like a persona. I found this one channel, and she basically sings. Like, that's all she does. She just releases a bunch of song covers and whatnot, but I don't think she streams or anything. She just, she has this one persona she has online, and that's kind of the character you see in all the music video covers. Same with other people like Lydia the Bard or Anapatsu. You have a bunch of singers that have like an online image, but then they like focus on their songs and their covers and whatnot. And so I think VTubing is just something you do, and not really like a like a cultural thing per se, in a sense. Like, yes, we have our own etiquette and our own culture, but I think a lot of it bleeds up from other genres. You have streamer etiquette. You have, you know, guidelines and um certain rules that you apply to your community, to other people. And then, you have the etiquette of whatever genre you're in, whether you're doing reviews, you're doing anime, you're doing cooking, you're doing cars, you're shopping. And so I think it's so diverse that you can't really narrow it down to one thing. So I just narrow it down to, okay, VTubing is just you're using a virtual avatar. Whatever you do as a VTuber, that's a whole other genre. you know.
I am oftentimes surprised when it comes to the positive but also negative influence that some VTubers could have. What I really like about you and your community, because I think the VTuber is also promotes or cultivates a certain community, and I love how in your community everybody's so open-minded. You feel like you can just toss almost anything as long as it's not something that will get you into trouble with YouTube or whatever. You can toss any sort of topic, and they are very enthusiastic about talking about anything. You can bring things related to science, to anime, to whatever thing. So I think that's very, very impressive, because a lot of young people, a lot of teenagers actually feel attracted to VTubers because of the pleasing anime image. And I think the VTuber, in one way or another, also has a very important influence upon his or her uh, audience. Wouldn't you say?
Yeah, my community is very understanding. So if we bring up a topic or something to talk about, I always find it so interesting that we can, that it's safe enough to share our ideas and thoughts on something. We were having a discussion about the new Genshin Impact character. I'm going to skip for her just because I'm not really getting like the Genshin vibe from her, but I love her design. She's so pretty. And then some of my followers like really love her, so they're going to go ahead and pull for her in the game. But I think my community is really good in understanding that we're all going to have different opinions and that we can joke with each other depending on different topics and stuff. An ongoing topic we have is how clumsy I am, which is very true. Like I don't know if people genuinely think I'm joking, but I'm serious. I'm very clumsy. I was painting yesterday and I dropped the paint water all over me. I ruined my shoes. I was so sad.
Oh no.
But I literally dropped it on me when I was heading back to the kitchen to go dump the water. And so I think when it narrows down to, and people tell me this all the time, is communication. Lots of people don't like communicating their thoughts, or they don't know how to communicate their thoughts. I've been told a lot I have really good emotional maturity, in a sense that if something's bothering me, I'm going to speak with you about it, and so we can figure it out together and come to an understanding. During my courses at my university, I took a lot of communication classes because that's kind of where my degree fell under, like that genre within a genre. And so you kind of learn a lot in how people think about situations and how people are going to, understand certain things. One example that still sticks with me to this day is a type of argument where you can't say everyone, everybody. You have to say most or some. You can't say all because it's not logical. You know, Another thing I learned was that everyone has their own experiences and framework. And so you kind of come to an understanding like, okay, how are you seeing this? Or how are you viewing? How do you want to go about the situation? I think the most obvious explanation, not obvious, the most well put explanation for that, it was oh my gosh, I don't remember which artist it was. I recently got a how-to manga book that was translated on how to make shoujo manga from like the 90s. And it was translated from a really well-known author that does shoujo manga. I can't remember what her name was, but one of the things she pointed out was, well, you can make any story you want. And the girl said, well, what if it's a story somebody else already made? She said, well, you might have seen it in a particular way, but someone else might see it differently. They said, let me show you an example. And so they're watching the news, and I think there was what was it? Was it a car accident or like a bike situation or something? And so each person had a different thing they focused on. Like, oh, that's going to be a lot of traffic, or oh, I hope those people are okay, or like, oh, well, I wonder how that's going to affect in the future for like laws and so something like that. There's something lighthearted I remembered. I think it was a bike was stolen or something. I can't remember. And so I thought that was a very interesting way to showcase an existing idea, but in different frameworks and how you interpret the idea. Let's see. Another thing that had come up, um, lots of people really like Chainsaw Man. Have you seen that anime?
Some of it didn't see like an entire episode, but some of it. Uh-huh.
So with Chainsaw Man, I think lots of people, I personally really liked it just because the idea kind of threw me off. So it's the same idea of the main character gets these awesome powers and he joins a group to fight the bad guys, but this main character was a little different than the other ones. He didn't care about his comrades, he didn't care what happened to him. All he wanted was to just make lucky with some girl one day. That was his main priority, and to finally eat jam, different types of jam on a bread. And I just, that kind of blew me away because I thought, oh, I haven't seen a protagonist like that. Most protagonists are very selfless, or they're for the greater good, but this guy was like, nah, I'm just gonna do my thing, this is what I want. Even when the person I guess you would consider his friend was hurt, he's like, oh, I didn't really care if he got hurt or not. Like, we just came to check on you, I guess, but we didn't really care, so it was like, oh, okay. So I think a lot of it is that um I understand, and I think a lot of people in my community understand that everyone's going to have their own opinions and thoughts on things, and that's okay to have different opinions and thoughts. And I think the VTuber, or just content creator, being an influence on their audience in general, this is just a normal thing. Obviously, you have influencers, you have actors, you have idols, you have other content creators who are also an influence on their audience. But it's always good that audience members knows themselves, like, okay, well, this is what that person thinks and this is what I think, and that's okay if we have different ideals or I agree with them, you know. So I think that's a very good thing to nurture within an audience, is that everyone's going to have different opinions and thoughts on something, and it's okay to have those differences. Just kind of be respectful of each other. Something my mom always taught me: treat others the way you want to be treated, you know. So if you want to be nice to you and be respectful towards you, you be nice and respectful back, you know. So I kind of lost track. What was your question?
Yeah. No, that's perfect because I was asking you about VTuber culture, and that's part. Although you don't consider it to be like a culture, but it's part of the, how you say it, semiotic domain.
Yeah, no, yeah, it's definitely a genre that erupted within, but it's like a genre within genres. So yes, being a VTuber is, you're a VTuber, or you're VTubing, but in general, VTubers don't, you know, they're not doing something that only a VTuber can do. I guess maybe like how to explain it? A lot of VTubers, they stream video games. Everybody can stream video games. They cook. Other people cook too. Or they make handcrafts and artwork and stuff. There's lots of other people that make handcrafts and artwork. You don't have to be a VTuber to do any of that. And I think that's the fun part, is I think that little flair you can have of having your own little avatar and character, and then also still kind of doing what you love to do, which they're playing video games, doing crafts, cooking, um whatever else you can think of. Kind of blanking at the moment. um but it's to me, it's not something new, just because I was really into like the animation, the YouTube side of stuff. So I'm a huge fan of Jaden Animations. I recently started watching this gentleman that does like movie reactions, and he does like funny sketches and illustrations. And so in a sense, I guess you could call them VTubers too, in a sense, but it's up to the person if they want to use that term or not. But to me, it just seems like a genre within genres. And I say this all in a good way. I say this all in a good way.
Well, thank you so much, Antonia. This talk has been quite enlightening about many aspects. You gave us your perspective on the things, and I think it is spot on according to your experience. It has been quite fascinating and a pleasure.
Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it. Thank you, thank you. And I'm sorry if I rambled on a few questions or if I
No, that's
worded things
perfect for
a
interviews.
little
That's
funny.
perfect.
I
Hmm.
really hope people understand that I really see VTubing as a very wonderful and fun opportunity to try something new artistically. And if that doesn't work out, that's fine. I really hope people can pursue what they want to do when they can and try new things. That's the one thing I always tell everybody is you're going to experience something new. No matter how old you get, you're going to experience something new. The world is always changing. You're going to meet new people, new things are going to pop up, and just kind of take it as, okay, I learned this. I either made a mistake or I succeeded. I'm just going to continue forward. That's all you can do is you can continue forward, you know. And it's okay if you're not positive all the time. That's fine. Sometimes we can't be positive all the time, but going forward with a good mindset and being open, I think will be more beneficial people than anything.
Very well said. And everyone watching us at home or wherever, please visit Antonia's channel. I will put the link in the description and in the pinned comment of this video. Once again, this has been your host, Abraham El Jaguar, and I will stop the recording in 10 seconds. Thank you, everyone, for watching this. And if you wish to further support the channel, check out all of the information in the description and in the pinned comment. See you all later.
Bye. Thank you.